Welcome to the Faith and Business Podcast. I am your host, Elle Edwards, founder of the Faith and Business Playground, here with Bible-friendly brain gymnastics to help Jesus geeks like you smile more so that we can impact the world with God's love by being happy, delightful people. Now, if you've been following along, if you watch this usually on Instagram, you will literally see something different. If you're listening via the podcast, nothing will be different other than my introduction. I fell over my words slightly. But I am, as of today, playing with a live to camera version of the podcast. I don't know how long I'm going to do it for. And quite candidly, I do record these in blocks. So you're going to see me in the same outfit all week, because I could change my shirt and pretend it's a different outfit, it's a different day, but I ain't got no time for that. So do let me know though, if you're watching this, if you do end up catching this on Instagram or YouTube, let me know what you think. But most importantly, the whole purpose of this podcast, however you decide to listen to it or watch it, it's all about helping make your day-to-day life more delightful. If you are brand new to me, you'll need to get used to one thing. I do fall over my words, and we just roll with it because, okay, there's a reason for that. When I first started this podcast a year ago, I was maintaining that actually we could just show up and do life. And sometimes things happen, and sometimes, things don't go quite how they're meant to, and we can roll with the punches. And part of what I love to do is to help you roll with the punches more. And so I started the podcast, and every time I fall over my words, I just pick myself back up and carry on, really doing this podcast by example. It is going to be more challenging, I suspect, with the live to camera version. Like right now, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work out in terms of, camera angles. And if I move my hands too much, which I do quite a lot, that's going to potentially mess up the lens on the camera. It might go out of focus. All these bits I don't know. But you know what? Things go wrong sometimes, and that's okay. So if you take nothing else from this podcast, take the reminder that you can show up and do life and just be yourself, because you're wonderful and you're made in God's image, and He doesn't need a do-over. However, that's not the theme for this week's series of episodes. Or this week, we are thinking about bounce back. If you're a long-time listener, you know that I announced very grandly the podcast will return on September the 9th. And I had episodes recorded, and then I didn't publish them. And life happened. And so I wanted to, this week, really share with you some bounce back tools. Bible friendly as ever. We've got Bible verses. That's my phone, but I got the Bible app on there. So it's always going to be in a way that supports and encourages and nourishes and enriches your faith, but using that brain science to help you to bounce back when things are feeling a bit difficult and a bit icky and not so great. So we're starting today, and I'm getting my notes from here as well, because see, I can't remember everything in my head. We're starting today by acknowledging, first of all, that sometimes life really does suck. And I should say as well, if you see me glancing down there, for people who are watching this rather than listening, if you're listening, you're like, oh, I'll just get on with it. I can't see anything. Really sorry. All of these episodes, I aim for no more than 10 minutes, quite candidly for two reasons. I like to share them on IGTV, and there's a 10-minute limit. And the second reason, I have a device in the corner, but I can't name her. She's an Amazon-powered device. If I name her, she's going to wake up and make noise. But I share this podcast as a smart, what's it called? Smart briefing. And if I do it longer than 10 minutes, it won't work. So what I would encourage you to do, think of this as a mini series, because I know I do tend to go off on a tangent sometimes. We're not going to be able to cover everything in one episode. So I would remind you, if you're not already subscribed via whichever way you like to listen to this, whether that's following, subscribing, whatever that looks like, please do that, because I want to make sure I can share all of these episodes with you. But today, we're going to start by acknowledging that sometimes life does suck. Now, I am somebody who does love to smile. Happiness is my default position. I like to see the silver linings in all things. That said, I also can be quite grumpy. I keep telling people this and they don't believe me, but it's genuinely true. If you live with me, you will see I get stressed quite easily as well. Like the other day, for example, we've had 2 new bunny rabbits. That's a long story. I'll save that for another time. But we've had bunny rabbits. And my daughter was sorting out the bunny rabbits, and she opened this cage by the wrong bit, and then I couldn't fix it, and I could feel myself getting all like, and angsty about it. So how do you balance this idea of being somebody who is, loves to smile? I love making other people smile and helping other people see the delight in day-to-day life, versus being someone who actually does get stressed quite easily. Well, some of the tools that I'm going to share with you this week are the actual things that I use. So that's why I want to make sure that you do follow along so you don't miss it. But it actually starts by acknowledging that sometimes things do suck. Because anybody who tells you they are happy all of the time is either lying to themselves or to you, or they're on something. Like, there's nobody is happy and joyful and delightful all of the time. Now, I know it says in the Bible that you should give thanks always, and yes, we're going to get to that later in the week, but that's a different conversation. And actually, you can give thanks and be joyful despite what's going on around you. But like I say, we'll talk about that later in the week. But today, I just want to help you to recognize that it's okay to have moments in days that don't feel amazing. And our Bible verse this, I'm going to turn to dear Elijah for this. Now, we're going to talk about him later in the week as well. This is Elijah, what's from 1 Kings 19. Now, Elijah was riding high. Really cool stuff had happened. I don't know how familiar you are with the story where the followers of Baal had basically been shown one. Like, he showed how awesome God was, and then Jezebel threatened his life, and he got really scared. So I'm going to read from verse 3. Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. So he went off on his own. He came to a broom bush. I don't know what a broom bush is. I should Google that afterwards. He came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. Then he lay down under the bush and fell asleep. He acknowledged that, everything is awful. This completely sucks. And in that moment, it really did. He'd had enough. He'd been this person who was doing all this amazing stuff with God, and now he was really scared. And so the first thing I want you to do as we think about this week is, if you're having a moment where things just feel really like ugh, and I hope that you don't feel scared for your life. I hope that your version of ugh is a bit less dramatic. But it doesn't actually matter what the specifics are. You know, some people say to me sometimes, well, compared to, you know, that person over there who's got cancer, what I'm going through is nothing. I think that's rubbish. Yes, obviously having cancer is really difficult, and it's not an easy thing to deal with, and it's a big dramatic thing. But actually, anything that causes you to lose your sparkle a little bit, anything that causes you to feel and stressed and angst, you're allowed to feel those feelings. And God is with you in those feelings. He never leaves you, of course. But just to push them away and go, oh, no, you're doing yourself a disservice. So the reminder today is that actually things do suck sometimes. There will be times when life is difficult and horrible and not fun. What I want to remind you to do, though, is to feel those feelings, but remember, you don't have to stay sat in those feelings. And that's what we're going to be dealing with the rest of this week in the episodes, is how do you actually move forward from there? So like I say, do subscribe or follow along and come back in tomorrow, depending on how you're listening or watching or listening to this. But that reminder, if you're having a day where things feel difficult, this too shall pass. You're not alone, and it's okay to feel like that. And then we're going to move forward from here with some tools for you later in the week to help you do that. I should remind you, of course, as well, if you are a Jesus geek who enjoys this brain gymnastics and you'd like some more support around that stuff, I have a wonderful little community for you called the Faith and Business Playground. Go to faithandbusinessplayground.com to find out more and come join us. But in the meantime, thank you for watching or listening, depending on how you're here, and I hope that doesn't get too annoying. But thank you for being here. That's what I shall say moving forward. Thank you for being here. I look forward to catching up with you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.